Hello and welcome back to another episode of Hollywood Wargaming. Today we have some exciting news for Star Wars Legion, as Atomic Mass Games has revealed at San Diego Comic-Con that there is a highly anticipated character coming to Star Wars Legion, and that of course is going to be Commander Cody. And if you guys remember my old video of what units I want to see come to Star Wars Legion, you'll remember that Commander Cody was a huge item on that checklist. So it's very exciting to see that we are starting to get some closure on those prequel units that we really expected. But we are actually getting a little bonus alongside Commander Cody here. As you will see when we take a look at the artwork revealed here, we are going to see that Commander Cody comes with two other clones from his regiment, who are Waxer and Boyle from the Clone Wars animated series. And first up here, we're going to talk about the art. I just don't have a lot to say other than it looks really fantastic. If you guys haven't noticed, Legion tends to recycle some art from other games like Imperial Assault and other Asmodee titles that have already commissioned the art, which is fine, but I think these are new commissions here. And the art for Commander Cody is particularly amazing, and maybe even a little bit too good, as I'll touch on in a moment. But on our other leak side, we are going to get some photos of the models themselves and also some unit cards. But while we're talking about art, let's go ahead and discuss how the models look. Here, they are shown posed with Phase 1 helmets, and I am personally much more of a fan of how the Phase 2 helmets look in this scale, and I'm sure they will come with Phase 2 helmet options. But aside from that, they do have the quality that we expect from these new plastic clone kits, which features some pretty dynamic posing here. It is worth mentioning that it seems that Waxer and Boyle are pretty much just standard clone troopers with a certain paint job. They may have their unique heads for a helmetless option, but it does seem like you can pretty much paint any two clone troopers up like Waxer and Boyle, or alternatively, use these models as just regular clone troopers, which would be nice to help break up those more monopose Phase 2 kits. Now, Commander Cody is definitely more of a unique look here with his armor modifications, and he is in a bit more of an action pose than, say, a hero pose. And while I really do like the look of that big blaster pointed downwards, I did expect him to have a bit more of a commanding pose, perhaps waving his arm to fire, like in Episode 3. But I suppose you do have the Phase 1 sergeants pointing, and then the clone commanders in the specialist box looking at their hologram. So it is good to have some variation for Cody, but there is another pose that I didn't know that I wanted to see him in, and that's the pose on that artwork there. It just looks so good, and I really would have loved to see his mini in that pose. I think it would have made him stand out a lot from the other clone troopers, as it would have made a great hero pose. That being said, I don't really mind the model that we do have for Cody. I would like to see the Phase 2 helmets on them. And I do like the fact that they're making use of the extra box space and sprue space to include extra miniatures here, as we are leaving the realm of soft plastic, which means these hero boxes are going to be a little bit more expensive, so they are adding value to it by giving us more miniatures on that sprue, which probably doesn't up the production cost that much more than just having a single model on it. But let's go ahead and take a look at Commander Cody and his unit card, along with Waxer and Boyle, who seem to be personnel upgrades. And we'll go ahead and start with these two troopers, as they are pretty similar. Both Waxer and Boyle are going to be 15-point personnel upgrades, who will likely be able to go into most trooper squads. And they will take the leader keyword, which of course means they will become squad leader. And they will also both give you the Scout 1 keyword. Now, Scout doesn't really become great until you start getting into the 2 and 3 range. Fortunately, there is the Recon Intel gear upgrade for just 2 points, which will stack you up to Scout 2. Combine that with other units like Rex giving Scouting Party, you can have up to 5 units making scout movements at the beginning of a game, which can make for a pretty aggressive clone force. Now, this is where these two personnel upgrades diverge, as Waxer is going to give you the Discipline 1 keyword, while Boyle will instead give you Guardian 1. And I gotta be honest, I think at 15 points, none of these keywords are really worth it. I'm definitely leaning a little bit more towards Waxer with Discipline 1, as removing that suppression could be pretty advantageous on a Phase 1 squad. But as for Boyle, Guardian 1 just isn't that great to put on clone troopers, as they are just really expensive units to be throwing around as chaff, and throwing another 15-point personnel upgrade into that mix isn't really doing anything to sway it in my favor. So honestly, if Waxer and Boyle hit the field as pictured here at 15 points, I don't really see anyone using them. We've already pretty much seen points drops across the board for personnel upgrades, and that's on clone troopers who have much less vague specialization than Waxer and Boyle. So overall, I'll say that these guys are pretty underwhelming, but that's kind of okay because they were kind of an added bonus surprise anyways. So I'm not really too bent out of shape about it, as Cody really is the big prize here. So let's go ahead and jump over and take a look at his unit card, or at least what we have of it. We can't see the full card here, but we pretty much get 99% of the picture, though he may potentially have more upgrades like a second gear slot and grenades like Clone Captain Rex does. But aside from that, we do get a pretty good general impression of what Cody offers. He is of course going to be a commander unit containing 1 model at 105 points, and will have a command, training, and gear upgrade slot, with potential for more as we just mentioned, and will be sporting that quote-unquote minor hero stat line of 5 health and 2 courage, and this will be backed up by a red defense die, and also an offensive surge to crit. And I gotta say, that surge to crit is a bit of a surprise to me. I definitely expected some surges, but Cody really isn't as much as a brawler as, say, Clone Commander Rex, so I expected more of a surge to hit or perhaps critical one on his weapon profile. So this is of course a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. But as for Cody's weapon profile, we are going to have 2 red dice for his melee attack, nothing special there. But his unique DC-15A blaster rifle is going to be sporting 2 red dice, 1 black die, and 1 white die, at what we can assume is range 1 to 4, with Lethal 1 and Impact 1 for keywords. Lethal 1 will of course let you spend an aim token to gain Pierce 1, while Impact 1 is going to give Cody a little bit more of an oomph against armored targets such as B2 battle droids or vehicles, and will turn him into a pretty solid soft counter against vehicles considering that he also has that surge to crit built in. So while Clone Captain Rex is going to be laying down a pretty decent blanket of fire with 6 red dice thanks to his gunslinger at close range, Cody's going to be delivering a pretty concentrated slug of fire at longer ranges, which I think is going to be pretty nasty to be on the receiving end of. But let's move along to the center of the card and take a look at Clone Commander Cody's keywords. And first of all, I want to point out that this looks like a bit of a work print here. So these stats may not be set in stone, but if AMG is confident enough to share them, I think they're going to be pretty much accurate. But I do want to mention that because of the first keyword here, which is going to be Observe 2. Observe, of course, is an action that lets you put 2 observation tokens on an enemy target, which anyone can spend to reroll dice. But what's interesting here on Cody is the fact that this Observe 2 is a free action, which means Cody will essentially be dumping out 2 free observation tokens every time he activates, which is honestly a pretty subtly powerful support ability. Now, there is a chance that they messed up and printed a free action symbol here instead of the action symbol. I don't believe we've seen free observe actions before in this game. I could be wrong about that. And if it does require an action to drop out those 2 observation tokens, it is going to diminish its value a little bit on Commander Cody. But we'll go ahead and assume that it is meant to be a free action that he can do, which right off the bat, I gotta say, is really top-notch stuff. After that, Clone Captain Rex is going to have Jump 1, which is another keyword that I didn't really expect here. I guess in the Clone Wars show, his little backpack thing is a jump pack, and honestly, this is a really useful keyword to have that's going to make him very mobile on the battlefield. Though I do feel like I myself, and probably some other players, are going to forget that he has it from time to time, but overall is another very subtle but very powerful bonus. And next up here, we are going to have Take Cover 1, which of course is an action that lets you give a friendly unit at range 1 a dodge token, and this will stack with portable scanners, which will allow you to get Take Cover 2, allowing you to give 2 different units, including Cody himself, a dodge token at range 1, which is a somewhat situational ability, but I do think it becomes pretty powerful when stacked with portable scanners in your gear upgrade slot. And you can also do some pretty crazy shenanigans with this when you combine it with Exemplar on Padme or Anakin, or feed it to units like the Saber Tank, who are always hungry for dodges. And I really could see portable scanners becoming a mainstay on Commander Cody, especially if he has more than 1 gear upgrade slot. And dishing out dodge tokens does go a long way in preserving your really expensive clone infantry. Though I will say this, Commander Cody is going to be a character who will really benefit stacking up those aim tokens to reroll his dice pool in order to get criticals and also trigger that lethal keyword. So while there are some pretty strong synergies that you can conduct with Take Cover 2, you're probably going to be deciding in the list building phase as to whether you want Cody there for other unit support, or if you rather prefer him himself to be a heavy hitter and making aim actions instead of take cover actions. But next up here, we are going to have another innate support ability, and that is going to be Direct Vehicle, which means during the command phase, Cody will be able to issue an order to a friendly vehicle at range 1 to 2, which I believe is a reference to his famous Order 66 scene in Episode 3, and in true Star Wars fashion, we are giving him full-blown personality traits based on a few seconds of screen time. But this really is an awesome keyword and is very blatantly going to pair well with things like the Saber Tank, and really any vehicle with linked targeting array for that matter. And I believe this keyword alone is going to make Commander Cody a staple in any vehicle list, and maybe even bring about a vehicle meta for the Republic faction. So yeah, that's a very, very powerful keyword that's going to give you order control over some of your most important pieces on the board. But wait, there's more. The icing on the cake is the fact that Cody himself does have Target 1 as a keyword, meaning when he is issued an order, he will get a free aim token. And as I said earlier, Cody is really going to like those aim tokens to trigger lethal and reroll those black and white dice to fish for crits. So a built-in aim token generator is very much welcome here. And I think Commander Cody has a pretty superb resume of keywords here that not only benefit himself and his offensive capabilities, but also lean heavily into his role as a support commander. And combine that with a range 1 to 4 weapon that has surge to crit and pierce, I think Cody may be giving Rex a run for his money. And that is not a statement I make lightly, considering that we haven't even seen Cody's command cards yet, and one of the things that makes Rex so great is his command card hand. So after the Kashyyyk wave with not many new releases for the Republic and some nerfs, I know Republic players have been a bit down in the dumps, but Clone Commander Cody really is a gleaming beacon of hope on the horizon. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you think Commander Cody's as good as I'm making him out to be? And how do you feel about Waxer and Boyle? Do you think there's something I'm missing about them there? As always, if you enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave a like, consider subscribing to the channel and turning on notifications, and as always, until next time, take care.